learned that nobody's perfect and everybody makes mistakes. Wow, Hannah Montana. Oh my gosh. Hey guys, so this is going to be a continuation of the last video I did. This is going to be part 2, where I answer questions that I received surrounding my last relationship. And this video is going to be a little different from my last one. The last video I posted, I mainly talked about the relationship and how abusive it actually was, verbally and emotionally wise, and just the things that he would say to me, or fights, why I left. This video I'm going to focus more on how I moved on from that relationship and how I was able to start my self-love journey that I like to consider that I'm on. If you haven't watched the last video that I made where I did talk about the relationship, I highly recommend watching it before this one, just so you're able to hear and understand the place that I was at while I was in that relationship and compare it to where I'm at now, which is a much better version of myself. This version of me loves herself beyond limits, and I'm very excited to share with you guys the steps that I took to get to that point and just answer all your questions and just help encourage you guys on your journey and whatever you're going through, that you deserve to love yourself no matter what. So with that being said, let's get started. Also, if you see me looking down, it's because I have my laptop right in front of me with all my notes, just because I didn't want to forget anything in this video because this topic is so important to me. The first question is, how did you realize it was him and not you? It was really hard for me to decipher if it was me or him. It was kind of hard for me to figure that out because I know there were things that I did wrong and there were things that he was doing wrong, but at the same time, I always felt like everything was my fault. So in my head, I thought maybe all this is because of me. Maybe I just need to go get myself situated and maybe I need to see a therapist because I'm ruining this relationship. But that thought changed when I found this article that I will put in the description box. It was called "Am I Abusive Too? The Myth of Mutual Abuse." The reason why I looked up this article is because I remember I was talking with my ex, I think about him being abusive. And I was saying something, I'm like, you're emotionally abusive, yada yada yada. It was when I was getting to the point where I was thinking I'm being emotionally abused, but I wasn't quite sure. But you know what? We're in an argument right now, so I am going to say that to him. And he had said to me, well, you're abusive too. So I ended up finding this article. Basically, the article had a list of a couple phrases that abusers typically tend to say to their partner, and funny thing is my ex said some of those things to me, so that was the first little like maybe it's not you, Taylor. Then the article continued with saying how abuse is basically, it stems from an imbalance of power between partners. In that relationship, I had no power. My ex had all the power over me, so that's how I knew it wasn't me, because I have no power to control him or manipulate him. So I started to say to myself, it's definitely not my fault. Of course, there's things I could have done better, but I'm not the abusive one at all. The second thing that helped me realize that it wasn't my fault is how often I would apologize in the relationship. I apologized far too many times, and my ex rarely ever apologized to me. There were some instances where, yeah, he apologized, but I would apologize what felt like almost every day. So I was always saying sorry for something that I did wrong in his eyes, or whatever it was. I just apologized just because I wanted this relationship to work and I wanted us to move on from all this chaos. And I seemed to be more compassionate towards his feelings, you could say. I was more worried about how he felt rather than how I felt, which is why I think I ended up feeling the way I did about myself, which was worthless, and I felt like nothing. It's because I cared more about his feelings than mine, because I felt like, I don't know, mine just weren't important. The third thing that made me notice that it wasn't me is sometimes when he was being really mean to me or really nasty to me, I would just try to tell him that I loved him, and I would try to just say, I love you. You are a great person. You are an incredible boyfriend no matter what. I love you. I'm always gonna love you. And after I would say those things to him, I noticed he sometimes would always ask me, after all the bad things I've done to you, how do you still feel this way about me? I never, ever had the urge to ask him that in the relationship. I never said to him, after all the bad things I did to you, what makes you want to stay? So I thought that was kind of strange. I was like to myself, you've never said those things to him. So maybe you're not the bad person if someone has to ask you, why are you still with them after all the things they've said to you and all the things that they've done to you? The second question is, what has helped you move on and get over something so terrible? The biggest thing that really helped me move on from this relationship, and especially at the rate that I have moved on, is definitely God and going to church and staying close to my church family. I know everybody has their own beliefs and everything. All I can do is express to you how my God has helped me heal and how my church family has really helped me just look past all that and make me feel loved and accepted for who I am, and that I am a new creation and I am a new woman and I am not everything that my ex would say that I was. Going to church was the best place for me to heal because I'm just so blessed to have a church family that accepts me for who I am and doesn't condemn me for things I've done, and gives me the opportunity to just go to the altar and truly just break down and just let all my emotions out and just cry out to God and say, please heal me. I need to be healed. I need to be healed. I want my mind to change. I need this. And then just having my pastors come over and lay a hand on me, and having people lay a hand on me and hugging me and sending me cards and encouraging me, that was one of the biggest things that really helped me move on from this crazy relationship. I had started going to Bible study, and I go weekly, and I had gone through a class where I had learned how to heal with Jesus and finding freedom and everything that I really needed to hear. And there was a healing service that I had gone to. I definitely believe I was supposed to be at that healing service. There was just so many things that was just verifying to me, you need to be here. This service is for you. You're going to be healed. I also joined this Facebook group by Natasha and Jamal Miller. I believe it was called Married and Single, Young and Saved. And I remember I had done this challenge that they were doing where it was kind of preparing yourself for your next relationship, or just, I can't remember exactly what it was about, but I know one of the things was talking about healing from your past. It was a Facebook Live video, and I had joined the group, and we were all watching it, and I put in the comments that, because she had asked all of us to put what we hope our future spouse is able to do. And I put, I hope my future spouse is able to accept me for my past. And it was so crazy because I've never had anybody like shout me out, I guess. But she was reading the comments and she said, and yes, Taylor, your future spouse will accept you for your past. And if anyone is throwing your past in your face, that man is not for you. I was like, wow. Like, so that I really needed to hear. And all the other comments, people just saying, Taylor, you are a new creation. Forgive yourself. You are renewed. You are not your past. The encouragement that was just around me made me feel so good and so loved, and made me just start to think differently about myself and look in the mirror and say, you know what? You are a new creation. You can always start over. Life may not have a redo button, but God does, and you can start over and you could be different. And I don't have to live in this jail cell that I'm keeping myself in, where I think I deserve to feel this shame and this regret and this guilt. I don't deserve to feel that way. I have a right to change who I am as a person and to grow and to keep growing and keep changing. No one is in charge of that except for me. Another thing that also really helped me, I remember there was this one night, my favorite pastor is Stephen Furtick, and I saw this sermon. It was called Reputation Rehab, and it is my favorite sermon to listen to. Such words of encouragement. And after watching that sermon, I was just realizing how no one's holding me back except for me. You know, I'm already forgiven for anything I think I'm not forgiven for. I just need to press forward. I'm trapping myself. I'm keeping myself back, and I need to break out of that. All this encouragement and sermons and everything really helped give me clarity on how I should perceive myself and how I should move on from how I was feeling. So I went from feeling like I was some disgusting woman that no guy would ever want to looking in the mirror and saying, wow, like, you're beautiful. You've been through so much, and I'm so proud of the woman that you're becoming. And yeah, there's some things that you don't like that have happened, but there's so many things that can happen that you will like and love, and just grow. I'm growing, I'm continuously growing, and I love it. You know, I don't look at myself and get upset or cry or compare myself to other people, because I don't need to do that, because I am me for a reason. I am unique, I am special, I am different, and I don't have to beat myself up over things that I'm not doing anymore. The third question is ways you grew from it. This is beauty from ashes, you know. My mindset is completely different, and I just have a higher level of confidence that I've never felt before. Not in a cocky way, but more of a I know who I am way. I feel like I have so much purpose, and I'm just so driven to be the best woman that I can be for myself, for my family now, for my future family when I'm married and have a husband and have kids. You know, I feel like my main goal is literally to just continuously be the best woman that I can. I have such a strong drive to be different, to help encourage people and help motivate people. So my mindset is just like, it just skyrocketed. It has grown so much, and my ways of thinking have changed so much. So internally, that's how I grew from that relationship. I just think so differently, and I look at myself so differently, and I think about the world a lot differently, and it feels amazing. It was really hard at first to grow from all the negative things that I was hearing about myself from my ex, because it really was a constant thing. It was me hearing stuff about myself basically every day, how I'm disgusting and nasty and not a quality woman, and how no guy would want me, and how I'm undeserving of a good man. My mom always told me, for every one negative thing you say to someone, you need to tell them 10 positive things. So I was just surrounding myself with positivity. And I just had to keep surrounding myself with words of encouragement and watching motivational speakers and pastors just discussing loving yourself and how you're forgiven and how you don't have to live and be in bondage to shame and guilt. I learned a lot from Stephen Furtick, and one of the biggest things I learned from him, and it's ingrained in my mind now, is that the way someone treats me is not a reflection of who I am. It is simply a reflection of who they are. It has nothing to do with me. It is just stuff that they're dealing with, and they're trying to put it on me. I looked up a lot about shame and self-esteem and just began teaching myself the importance of loving myself. And over time, after learning about these different topics and just reading about it, I learned that someone that I'm with, if they're going to treat me bad, it's not because I'm not enough for them. They're simply not enough for me. I'm someone worth loving. I'm worthy. I'm valuable. I have purpose. You're worthy. You have purpose. You deserve love. Everybody deserves love. During that process, of course, there were times where I would cry and I felt like I wasn't there, but that's just a way to truly heal. You can't keep everything bottled up, because that's not healing. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to forget about it, because that's not healing. You can't just never talk about it, because that's not healing. The biggest block that can stop you from loving yourself is your mind. Your mind is so powerful, and I have learned how powerful your mind can be, because you can ask any of my friends, they'll tell you, I would have never thought Taylor would have been in an abusive relationship, and neither did I. I never thought I was the type of person that would end up in that situation, but now I truly understand that your mind, my mind, everybody's mind is so powerful, and if you're letting someone manipulate it and control it and you're surrounding yourself with things that are not good for you, your mind takes it all in and it changes it. It really truly does. I would condemn myself nonstop, and thank God I don't do that anymore, and I don't feel the need to compare myself to anybody because I don't have to. I truly faced my Goliath, which was my past and shame and guilt. I faced it right face to face. I faced it and I conquered it. And that's all you need to do, you know? You just have to face whatever you're afraid of and you got to conquer it. You know, you got to be courageous and you have to have such faith in yourself that you can move past whatever you're dealing with. Loving yourself and getting to that point where you can look in the mirror and truly love yourself, it is such a great feeling. I'm not even kidding. It makes you feel just so good about yourself, and it's a great way to live. The fourth question is how you started to love yourself again after a bad relationship. Well, for starters, I would try to do things that would just get my mind off of the relationship. I love makeup and I like dressing up, so I would try to do stuff like that often. I used to play piano a lot when I was really little, so I had bought a keyboard and I was trying to play it a little bit. I got stuff to paint. I would read more. I was more focused on just taking care of myself and doing things I enjoyed to do. My family is also a really big part of helping me get my mind off of the relationship. My family is super encouraging, super loving. I remember one time I came home from getting dinner with some friends. I came home and they're like, "Oh, Taylor, just in time for our encouragement circle that they're sitting at the dinner table at." So I sat down and I had to say one encouraging thing to everyone at the table, and they all said something about me. So that was one big thing about my family that I do really appreciate and love, and they seem to just always be there for me and to pick me up. So being around my family helped a lot. On my Instagram, I started following a lot of positive things and a lot of pastors and just things I liked, you know, makeup, stuff like that. So every time I scrolled down my feed, I was reading something positive. I made sure that if I was going to be on my phone, I wanted it to be positive. I wanted to end up feeling good about myself and not just comparing myself to girls. Question 5 is, what if it's hard to do? It's definitely hard to do, I will tell you that, but I think we make it a lot harder than it needs to be. When I started the self-love journey, it wasn't perfect right away. I still had my thoughts that I was battling about myself, and I was still crying. I was just thinking, oh, when am I going to be healed? When am I going to feel better? And you definitely just got to keep pushing through. Don't give up on yourself. It seems hard, but like I said, I think we just make it harder than it needs to be. You shouldn't have to live a life where you don't like yourself or you hate yourself. This is your life. And I think it's so important that we make the best out of it in means of mentally and internally and just loving ourselves. One of the most successful things you can do in life is to fully love yourself. Not cocky, not overly confident, but knowing you have value and knowing that you're important. And yes, it may be a struggle, but just keep pushing through, don't give up. Just treat yourself well. Take care of yourself, hold yourself, nurture yourself, and it gets easier and easier and easier. I felt at first so awkward about loving myself because I didn't really know much about it. I was like, this is so weird, like trying to have self-care and self-love and do all these things. Even when I started doing my videos, I felt like it was so pointless. I'm like, oh, who's gonna care to watch me? What does it matter? Who am I affecting? I'm not affecting anybody with doing these. It's just a progression. Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't eat the fruit of the tree you just planted. You got to keep watering it. And you're that fruit, you know? Keep watering whatever you planted and that tree will grow and the fruit is gonna come out. It's gonna grow. One of my favorite motivational speakers that I would watch whenever I would feel down and hit those little bumps is I would watch Trent Shelton's videos, and I love his videos. His videos gave me that little push that I needed to get back on track. So I highly recommend him. I followed him on Instagram and I was just watching his videos, and I started finding other motivational speakers that I loved watching and seeing their little minute clips on Instagram or Facebook, and those really do help when you're stuck in a rut. Just watch something that's going to make you feel better. Listen to someone else tell you you are important, you matter, keep going, don't give up. The sixth question is, how do you get yourself to stop thinking about the relationship? For me, I don't think you ever really stop thinking about the relationship. It's more so how you think about the relationship. It's hard to not just stop thinking about something that affected you so much, especially if it was someone who was so important to you. I would still think about the relationship, and from time to time I do, because that's normal for people to think about things. But my mindset and my thinking of the relationship has definitely changed a lot. It's really important to change your perspective on certain things and to also just get rid of the blame that you have on yourself and also on them. Yes, they've done you wrong, but it does you a lot more internally to just forgive them. Unforgiveness will really eat you up, and it's just going to turn into bitterness. And I didn't want to be a bitter woman, so I learned to forgive, and I learned to let go of whatever my ex did to me. I have no negative feelings towards him. I hope he's doing well. I hope he's succeeding at whatever he's doing. But at the same time, I don't want to be with him. You need to just be able to release all that anger that you feel towards that person, regardless if they apologize or not. Yes, I know sometimes it's annoying when people don't apologize to you, but just let it go. I think once you're able to come to terms with everything that happened, it helps kickstart the perspective change. On the topic of coming to terms with my past relationship, question number 7 is, how have you come to terms? The first thing I did was I needed to talk about it. Not with friends, not with family. Lucky for me, my last semester of college, I was in a class that I actually didn't need. It was extra 3 credits. It was my group process and counseling class. On the first day, my professor had said to all of us, we are all going to have to talk about things we're dealing with. Things we have dealt with, things that we're dealing with currently, but everything has to stay confidential. So we treated the class like a therapy session. This was my first feeling of safety and being able to just express myself around people that didn't know anything about me, had no biased opinion. They were just here to listen to me, and I was able to just let things off my chest that I felt I was just keeping inside, and I didn't want to talk to my friends or my family. So I felt as if this was a really good opportunity to just let a lot of things out. The second thing is that I came to an understanding that I never made him treat me the way that he treated me. He chose to treat me the way that he treated me, and there was nothing I could do to change that. No matter how much I tried, I couldn't do anything at all. The only way for things to change was for him to change his ways and his actions. I can't do anything. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So I just had to come and realize that it's not my fault that he treated me that way, and I can't change it. Why am I going to stress about something that I can't change? The third way that I came to terms was just by accepting that I did the best that I could in that relationship. I made mistakes too, but I was only able to operate at a level with whatever knowledge I had at that point in time. I think I would do a lot of things differently now, but at the time, I was only able to do what I knew I could do or thought I could do. I try to see the situation as not necessarily a loss, but as a win, because now I love myself so much more, and I never really imagined myself feeling this way that I feel about myself, because like I said, self-love was never a strong topic to me as I was growing up. I never really thought about it. Feeling the way I feel about myself is definitely a really great reward, to say the least. And the final way I came to terms is, like how I said before, with forgiveness. I'm not mad at all at him. I have no anger or resentment towards him. If I saw him on the street, I wouldn't ignore him. I would say hi, like, how are you, and everything. Of course, I wish things were different or ended up differently, but like how I said, I'm not going to stress over something that I can't change. I just have to move on from it and continue on with my life. I can't just dwell in the fact that, oh, this relationship with someone that I love didn't work out. I have to pick up my big girl pants and keep it moving. And forgiveness is definitely a really big thing to get to, especially if you do have a lot of anger towards someone. But I feel personally that having the forgiveness towards him has really lifted a lot off of my shoulders and also made me feel a lot better about the situation and the outcome of the situation, which is me loving myself. And the last question is number 8, the biggest lessons that I learned. The first lesson that I learned is that I can't allow someone else to tell me what my value is. I know who I am at the end of the day, and I learned that I really need to be solid in my perspective of myself and how I feel about myself. I learned that the way someone treats me is not a reflection of me, but of them. If someone is putting you down for something, it's probably because they put themselves down for either the same thing or a multitude of things. People can only give out what they're capable of giving themselves. And I always say that if you love yourself, it's so easy for you to give out love to other people because you know how it feels and you know how to give it to yourself. So of course you're going to know how to distribute it to other people. But if you are just angry towards yourself and have a lot of shame, that definitely does spew over into other relationships because that's all you know how to give yourself. So I definitely learned that I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be in a future relationship and I'm like having these open wounds that I haven't healed from and I'm bleeding onto this person who doesn't deserve it. So I learned that it's super important to love yourself before you get into a relationship, and you need to definitely heal from things that you have gone through and that have traumatized you, and you need to grow from a lot of things, even negative characteristics that we have. We have to learn how to change certain things about ourselves so we can operate with other people and cooperate with other people, especially if it's someone who you want as a significant other or you're already dating, because being with someone and being in a relationship is not like just being friends with someone or saying hi to someone on the street. You guys are a team. I learned that I'm not any mistake or bad decision that I made. I learned that self-love and self-care is so vital. So vital to growing into your purpose and growing into the person that you were put on this earth to be. I learned that I can't cover up anything that has happened to me or that I've done, and that I had to heal from certain things and I had to be vulnerable and transparent when it came to things I would rather hide and not talk about. I learned that nobody's perfect. I learned that it is not what your mistake is, but how you grew from that mistake. I learned that I can't live my life trying to make other people happy. I have to make myself happy first, at least. I learned that it's not what I go through in life, it's how I go through it. I learned more about what it means to be respectful and have respect for other people. I learned more about who I want in my life, and that I've realized that if there's anyone in my life, friend or boyfriend, who is going to try to disrespect me in any type of way, I steer clear of it and I kind of push myself away from them, because I'm not ever going to let someone close to me disrespect me again or make me feel like I don't have value or that I'm not important, because I don't deserve that. I definitely did learn a lot that I'm really thankful for, and I'm really happy with how my mind works now. I'm very happy with the level of self-confidence and self-love that I do have, and if you're struggling with it, just know that you deserve to love yourself. No matter what you tell yourself, take it from me. Listen to what I'm saying, because I was in a really bad place too where I thought I didn't deserve it. You're valuable. You have purpose. You were born for a reason. You could have been anybody else, but you were you. There are great things about you. And it may not seem like that right now, but trust me, there are. Going through this relationship and dealing with everything and dealing with the aftermath and healing and everything definitely made me realize a lot. I really do feel myself changing and growing and forming and molding and becoming the woman that I was born to be. All this is just a journey to me, which is where I get my name from, Taylor's Journey, because I'm on Taylor's journey. This is my journey, and that's all that life is just a journey to me, and a really big experience and a time for change and growth and being the best version of you that you can be. I just want to display my journey to you all, just to be living proof that you could always start over. You could always change. You always have an opportunity to do better. I want to be proof that you can love yourself no matter how you feel about yourself. It's attainable. You can get to that point no matter how you feel about yourself right now. You can love yourself because you are deserving of it. I definitely, like I said, learned a lot, and I'm happy that I was able to share it with you guys. And I really do hope that if someone does need to hear this, that you do take what I say to heart. You know, you're not anything anybody has said to you that is negative. You know, you are not just someone who was abused. You're not someone who was put down. You're not just someone who is a mistake. It took me a little while to get to the other end of things, but like I said, it was really worth it, and I really hope that you get to that point too if you are not at that point. And I believe in you. Even if you don't believe in yourself, I believe in you. And I just want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.